Welcome to Cycl'n Vancouver. Hi, my name is Steve. I'm a 60-year-old guy, 6'5", around 250 pounds, who loves getting out on the bike and going cycling. Well, that and eating lots of baked goods. Today is Monday, March 30th, 2026, and welcome back to Vancouver. For this ride, the temperature today is a chilly 8 degrees Celsius, and I have a mix of sun and cloud, though it seems more cloud than sun. For today's ride, it's cherry blossom season, and I am going out to check out the first round of cherry blossoms in the area. I do not expect this to be a particularly long ride. This is the first video I have done since I returned from cycling in Spain last September. In fact, this is only the second ride I have done in the past 3.5 months. Now, I didn't decide to stop cycling. Rather, my body left me little choice. Let me explain. For many years now, I have had an issue with tight hip flexor muscles. I think that the problem started when I was into bodybuilding long ago. In time, I eventually learned about the psoas muscle and the stretch I needed to do regularly to keep my hip flexors from causing problems. In 2014, I started cycling, and in time, I shifted away from bodybuilding and more towards riding. However, my hip flexors didn't care. They still required frequent stretching. I also added frequent foam rolling to my maintenance schedule. Everything proceeded well, and my rides got longer and harder. Sometime in 2023, I started getting a slight limp in my left leg. Stretching seemed to relieve the pain, so I naturally figured that that limp was just a result of those tight hip flexors. This past year, I started off with short rides as I worked to get back from that nasty crash I suffered in France. As the rides got longer, I started getting increasing amount of general pain and discomfort in my lower body, and I started taking a couple of regular Tylenol and Advil pills after each ride. As the year progressed, I found it worked better if I took painkillers prior to setting off for the ride, so that became my new approach, and that worked well right through to my stay in Girona. But I found that even that wasn't enough. As the week in Girona went by, the pain got worse. Stretching helped, but it wasn't enough. I left Girona on September 30th and struggled on the trip home. Walking through airports isn't my view of a good time, but this time it was even worse. I would slowly plod through and even had to stop from time to time for rest. I was very happy to finally get back to Vancouver and sit down. I spent the next few weeks recovering from both jet lag and trying to get my left leg back to form. I did get out cycling from time to time through October and November, but given the unusual amount of rain Vancouver got this fall, I did not ride very often. On December 11th, I went out for a nice, short, easy 30-kilometer ride. By the time I got back, I was in a significant amount of pain, and that pain did not let up for 2 days. By then, I knew something was wrong. Thanks to a comment from Kevin, I checked online for information regarding hip replacements. After quickly looking at the available info, I figured that was probably the real issue, but I would require imaging to confirm it. I quickly made an appointment, and 2 days later, I went in to see my doctor. She made an appointment for me to get both x-rays and an ultrasound on the left hip. A couple of weeks later, after getting the imaging done, my doctor called me to tell me that the imaging showed severe arthritis in my left hip. After that, it just became a matter of time before I could get in to see the appropriate doctor to discuss getting both a cortisone injection and onto the waiting list for a new hip. Of course, being this is Canada, you cannot just go in and see the necessary specialist to get what you need. Rather, I first had to have a consultation with the doctor about getting a cortisone injection. That took a couple of weeks, and after seeing him and deciding that I really wanted the injection, even though I was told it may have no positive benefit for me whatsoever, I got an appointment for 6 weeks later on March 25th. Of course, I asked if that could be moved up. Though it possibly could have, it wasn't. And while 6 weeks doesn't seem like a really long time, it was long enough where I went from walking reasonably well to nearly being unable to walk at all, even with the assistance of a cane. And the pain got progressively worse day after day. Though I kept telling myself from day to day that perhaps I could get out cycling, I really knew I could not. It was just difficult to accept. I would have to wait for the injection and just hope that worked. So I focused on lasting it out until the 25th. I knew that would coincide with one of my favorite cycling times, cherry blossom season. Normally, the 25th would be near the start of the first round of blossoms. I really hoped that they would be late this year, that it wouldn't rain, and that the injection would actually work for me. The appointment date finally came round, and I was there first thing in the morning. The doctor took one look at me and asked when my hip replacement procedure was. In about 11 months, I told him. He said that he would chat with the surgeon and see if he could get it moved forward. Yeah, I looked like hell. I went into the room and got in position. The doctor told me I had to straighten my left leg, otherwise he could not do the injection. I couldn't straighten it and told him to do it for me. He did. It hurt. I didn't care. I wanted that injection more than I wanted anything at that moment. A couple of minutes later, he was finished and I was off back home. Though the doctor said it may take up to 48 hours to see the effects of the injection, by that afternoon, I felt like I could go out dancing. I felt amazing. That afternoon, the sun was out and it was a beautiful cycling day, and I thought about trying to ride. But I'm old and therefore more cautious than I would otherwise be, were I still in my 30s or 40s. So I decided to wait a couple of days and let the cortisone do its thing. But by Saturday, I figured that it was finally time to get out and see whether I could actually ride in my condition. After struggling a bit to get the socks on, I finally went out for a short ride around the area. I managed a nice, slow 11.5-kilometer ride. By the time I returned home, I felt good, but I did have a small pain in my left hip. Thankfully, it only lasted a few hours. Today, I feel great, and I'm ready to get out and see if I can push the distance out a little further and add a bit more climbing. Of course, I did take the Tylenol and Advil just in case. As I feared, it looks like the blossoms have arrived early this year. I bet that they would have been perfect on the 25th. Oh well, at least I can get out and enjoy them. I'm gonna head north on Ross and see if I can get to 45th Avenue. I'll ride west out to Heather Street and then turn south back towards home. It looks like the Oak Ridge Mall project might actually get completed soon. I have no idea what the holdup has been, but it's taken years to get to this point. In a few weeks, this street will be covered with cherry blossoms and be the most beautiful area in Vancouver for a few days. I am so looking forward to that. I just hope I can still cycle by then. I was pretty happy with this effort. I got in 15.5 kilometers and 161 meters of climbing. I know that doesn't sound like much, but it was a couple of kilometers longer than my last ride, and I still could have ridden further. I stopped when I did to make sure I didn't overdo the effort on my hip. I will see how I feel over the next couple of days, and hopefully get out soon for a longer ride.